Good evening and welcome to the webinar Industry 4.0 and Future Outlook India. And I would like to, on behalf of our institution KIT CIII Institute of Technology, we are pleased to have Mr. Babu Ramachandran, Senior Manager Professional, Supply Quality Director with Alstom Transportation, Bangalore. He completed his bachelor's degree at MIT Calicut in 1995 and master's degree at Loyola Institute of Business Administration in 2000. He is previously associated with Leyland Buses India, Motherson Sumi Systems Limited, Ford Motors, and L&T. He is having rich experience in the industry in automotive, OE, and railway sectors. He is having very much knowledge in automotive industries as he has managed business critical problems and achieved operational excellence. He sees his key success factors are big picture thinking, customer focus, and team together approach. A positive attitude with a solution mindset to problem solving and RT innovation is his hallmark. His interest is circular economy, waste as a resource, that is WAR, and smart cities and mobility. He is an ideator and problem solver. He creates an innovative solutions, the problems, and address the pain points and generate value. Simultaneously, keen on spreading awareness and motivating youth, micro, small, and medium enterprise. With this short introduction, I am handing over the session to our guest, Mr. Babu Ramachandran.
Thank you, Dr. Kirtika. Thank you for that introduction. Good afternoon and welcome to all. I hope I'm audible and visually you can also see me. So I'm very glad to be part of this session. So if it's all fine technically, I think it's good. Thanks to technology. So I will share my screen. I think I have a small presentation, and the topic of the discussion is Industry 4.0 and the future. This is my attempt to give you a quick overview. We have a small 40 minutes to 1 hour kind of time for this. So I will do my best to give you a view of Industry 4.0, what it is. Definitely, maybe many of you already know that. I will do some information about that. And I will try to bring in the context of what is today happening in the industry, what is happening in different sectors. And I think this is my intent is to make it a thought-provoking session. Of course, we can have a few questions. I can also try to answer some of it, but it's also my intention that you will be thinking about this and looking forward to what more you can do in the future. So with that, I think I can start this session. What is okay, so I will I hope you can see my screen, Dr. Kirtika. Can you confirm?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. So it was also my first attempt with this webinar jam. So if it's working well, it's good. So technology is really coming to the aid of humankind. So let me start. Okay, as already introduced, I'm Babu Ramachandran. So I will, cut to the topic very quickly. So we know about industrial revolutions. I think we can say very clearly that there are 4 industrial revolutions so far. We are in the 4th one. This is the subject of today's discussion. And what are these industrial revolutions, and why do you call them industrial revolutions? I think a little bit more information can help you. Humankind has always been working on making, transforming something to something. So that has happened for centuries. You know that historically, several thousand years ago, the first tools were made. People, the human, species were hunter-gatherers. Then they became agriculturists. So the evolution of mankind has happened. And as it happened, we say around in the in the period like 1784, we call it as an industrial revolution 1.0, because that is was a big turning point where mechanization happened. So this happened with a lot of industrial, scientific research coming up in different countries. It looks predominantly in the European regions, but actually there was also a similar kind of discovery, similar things happening in the India context. In this generation, probably it happened as a a mirror, or as a with relation to the industrial revolution in the Europe region. But nevertheless, we had a very strong legacy of industry even many centuries ago. But in the modern context, Industry 1.0 started in the late 1700s with steam power. So the cotton industry, so they had a steam-powered machines. There were the initial railway steam-powered rails, so they laid tracks to run rails to carry goods. So this is how it started about, and one by one, many inventions of machines came up. And so sometime in the very late 19th century, and actually through the early 20th century, Industry 2.0 happened. So this is where humans started manufacturing products which are in multiples. So that became mass production. So management concepts like an assembly line, division of labor, this was also founded. So the philosophical, growth of management started happening during this period. Obviously, the great automotive pioneers were one of the founders of this Industry 2.0. And then in the late 60s, big revolution happened. This is the Industry 3.0, as we call it now. And this is where, mankind started electronification of things. Okay. I forgot to tell you, in Industry 2.0, it was also electrical energy. The transformers, the generators, this was also discovered. The transmission of power, the great Thomas Edison and the Tesla era was at this period where they were finding different ways to propagate electricity and transmit electricity. So this pioneered the Industry 2.0. And then Industry 3.0 came when they started electronifications. And we had some very early machines. The chips started coming in. The great famous Moore's law was authored during this period. And then we have Industry 4.0, which is actually happening now. Okay, there are many people telling when it started, but I would say it is it's been in the late 2010s and onwards. It has been happening. So this also during this period of the Industry 3.0 and 4.0, it coincides with the revolution of infotech, starting with the computers, the early computers, the small network of computers, the email systems. And in the 1990s, one of the most profound technologies was unveiled, which is the World Wide Web. And of course, in the 2000s, after the great bubble of 2000, the Y2K, many tech companies started coming. Google being one. There were many other tech companies. Some are there, some are no longer there. But these guys were the pioneers of infotech revolution. And this very much has a relationship to the Industry 4.0, because that is how they combine forces. So it all started as, an effort of man to reduce pain of the effort, like monotonous job was made simpler. And then along the way, it moved from labor to mechanization to management, electronic technologies were developed, and basically man and machine started forming a relation. And today we have connected and smart. We call it, wherever we can use the word, that's a connected technology, connected machine, connected automobiles. And we call again the same thing with smart. You can have a smartphone, you have a smart computer, you have a smart whatever you call it. So This, therefore, was harnessing the power of data, not just the power of a machine, the power of energy. It is also power, harnessing the power of data. The arrow is going up because I still think that the next revolution will come and we have more to do, but I think we will discover what will happen in the future soon. So with this, I jump into the what is Industry 4.0, the technological pillars of it. So as you saw, it is about, it's a cyber physical system, which they called it. Okay, a man machine with data were brought together. So Industry 4.0 as it stands today, okay, there are 9 technologies which are the pillars. Okay, it starts from autonomous robot, simulation, which is the digital twin and such technologies, horizontal and vertical integration of systems, the IoT, the industrial Internet of Things, cybersecurity, the cloud, additive manufacturing, augmented reality, and the biggest thing which is happening now, the big data and analytics. And these have technologies which have developed and which are actually even evolving more and more. Some of these technologies are still, I would say, in the nascent stage of research or in a very early stage of adoption. Some are very well popularized, and some are very much applicable in many of the industries which we see around us. Okay, so a visualization of Industry 4.0 in a factory, which is which I've tried to depict here. You can start with an input where it goes with some controls of inputs, monitoring quality and checks of things, and analytics, which is grabbing the data and processing them to take decisions or to analyze them. There are devices which are used to have predictive analytics, variables which are used by the people. Of course, 3D printing for spares or 3D printing for components. The simulation part, the digital twin, or the monitoring war rooms, the dashboards, the analytics which are coming into this, so on and so forth. It goes there. Okay, including machine vision, augmented reality. So there are so many of these things which are actually associated, spun off from each of these technologies, which is going into the industry, be it a process industry or be it a mechanical industry or an electrical electronic industry. And it is not only purely a manufacturing industry, it is also perpetuated into the commerce, into our business transactions, into our physical transaction of goods, or the information transactions which we do. So it is nothing but basically a technology enabled method to improve the quality, productivity, secure safety, be it physical safety or cyber safety, and finally gain competitive advantage. So it is one fueling the other, but this is finally a package which is developed by the industry to gain competitive advantage, to gain the consumer, to delight the consumer, and to grow the business. So if I wanted to give a view of a typical industry value chain, this is what it might be, a very simplistic view of an input industry, which may be a raw material industry, supplying to say a main industry or an original equipment manufacturer kind of industry, and which is then supplying to the consumer. This is where you will find the goods going to a supermarket or going to a showroom. So what is the factors which are driving this? There is, of course, the engineering, the design part, which is technology enabled, and then through the 7 M's or 8 M's, as I have added Mother Nature also as an M here. So We monitor man, material, machine, methods, the movement of goods. We have metrics or measurements, and of course we have media, which is carrying all these information across, and finally the Mother Earth, which is a contributing factor as well as an impacted factor in this whole value chain. So this is all these elements, be it for material traceability or for aiding a person or monitoring a machine. This is all these places is where the industry 4.0 technologies are put in use. And as I said, the objective of a business performance, be it productivity, quality, environment, sustenance, this is one of the key goals using technology today. Obviously, flexibility and speed, the flexibility to adapt and change a product, or flexibility to develop something very fast, attacking the cost and profitability, reduced cost, increased profitability, you will find it everywhere, and of course safety, in terms of the people safety or the environmental safety or the process information safety as well. So all these with the enablers of training and skill, collaboration, communication, all these aid for the business objective. And technology has become a major factor to harness these. A simple visualization of Industry 4.0 in a zero defect manufacturing concept. So we have, as I said here, the machine learning, the cloud storage, big data analytics, IoT, which are devices and sensors, smart sensor networks. All these are deployed in industry and increasingly deployed in industry today. Primarily, if you look at for a zero defect application, it is trying to detect things, okay, physically or virtually. Physical may be actual, visual, indicators of a product, or virtual may be the digital information to predict, it could be detection or a prediction. And the actions always, if it's a prediction, this is a prevention which we want, and if it's a detection, we will have to correct it. So it's a repair system which can come into place, and we aim for zero defects. And as I say, it is even more and more the onus is going towards a prediction, a predictive maintenance, predictive technologies are what is coming up from the the power of big data. The inputs coming from the sensors going to the the computing, which tells that the sensors are giving some indication which is getting processed, and the organization is getting the information that a predictive failure could happen, and therefore it is swung, actions are swung in to prevent it. So this is where the Industry 4.0 is heading towards, achieving zero defect, improving the quality, reducing cost, which is by reducing waste as well, and zero waste, improving the efficiency is having a great impact on the green metrics of ours. So I hope this was a good, simple visualization of how it happens. And if I look at today, and this is something which should be which is an eye-opener when I also started encountering how is in the manufacturing industry starting to adopt it. And we do see that yes, there is increasing adoption of this across the industry. A lot of technologies were preemptively done in the Western world, but I think today Indian industry is definitely not lagging behind. My focus, of course, is also to see that this becomes democratized. Therefore, a lot of small industries also need to start taking up these technologies, which is happening in a very slow way. But this today, you can see the picture where machines are talking to each other. Machines are getting inputs from the planning, and it is transforming the information from stage to stage. We have all these applications, from MES, a manufacturing execution system, to production planning, to the actual production, factory environment monitoring, and therefore which can be energy or monitoring waste, machine automation itself, and as I said, a lot of predictive technologies, predictive applications are coming up in place. To give you a business view of what is happening, a market overview of what is happening, and this is, I would say, still a bit dated, okay? Coming from a NASSCOM survey, we recognize that industry, IoT, which is a very, very significant and a key driver in this industrial revolution, has been a rapidly growing landscape, okay? Starting with zero, it is like over a period of from from the late 2000s, there are more than 120 firms then, and it is much, much more now, actually. And the addressable market, the market where it could be used, has also grown in size. Okay, and as I see today, this was a number which was projected in 2016. Actually, today it is even projected to be more than 50 billion. Okay, and of course there has been funding, people have been investing in this kind of technologies, and new segments have come about, and I'm sure you will know enough examples of how these new segments, new applications have come about. Okay, and so India definitely has a big advantage, and frankly, with technology, as you might have seen in the earlier session, I was quite curiously watching. Whenever a new technology is coming in, the adoption rate of technology in an emerging market or in a developed market is not lagging behind, because the mobile phone, which is there, the same technology is of course available within minutes. So this is how, at the speed of how industrial evolution is happening. And the technology in terms of the industry where it is applied, it was manufacturing, a large part of it. It was healthcare, it was automotive, and next generation commerce. Okay, so this is where a lot of action happened. I told you this is 2016. So actually, if I see today, there are many things more which has happened. I just put in a few bullet points. For example, in the case of mobility and transportation, EdTech, I think the biggest revelation of the last 2 years have been a revolution in EdTech. The biggest unicorns, global unicorns, are in EdTech unicorn, and agricultural technology, and of course plus. But the envelope of 4 verticals is now pushed to multiple verticals. Defense has been a big sector as well, So you will find that we are poised for much, much higher growth beyond even what has been achieved so far. So I hope you have you've been following this so far. I want to touch upon something about the world. Okay, this is a global picture. They call it the mega trends of the world in 2020-30. So what will happen in the next 2 decades. The world is growing. Okay, so there are many interesting numbers here. I will not read everything, but we are going to definitely be a 10 billion population by 2050. India itself is going to be 1.7 billion and overtaking China soon. India's demographic advantage is a unique one. So while here it says 13% will be over 65 by 2030, this is a global average, but in India, it will still not be the same. It will not be this. Today we have a median age of 26, which means 50% of our population is 26 or below. So you can imagine the power of consumers today, and the consumer which we have to target in this today's market, or the people who we have to enable, is predominantly people in this more than 50% come from the median age, come below the median age. The world is going to face also many challenges. Food is going to be a challenge. Water is crisis number 1. I think already we have faced it in India. There are countries like South Africa. There are many global countries which are actually facing acute water crisis. So this is definitely the resources, the elements of nature are going to be really in big pressure. So what has this got to do with us? Of course, everything has to be done because we are part of a global milieu. So of course, economic powers, the geopolitics of today is rapidly changing, and it's globally recognized that India is definitely the fastest emerging, one of the fastest emerging economies, despite the corona crisis, the COVID crisis. China is definitely become a big global power. There are reports where they have actually overtaken US or not, but there is clearly they're a significant economic power, and India is fast emerging. Climate has been one of the most critical topics of the decade, and the new decade, it is definitely the decade of fulfilling the climate promise. So when I put this and I try to see what has been the mega trends which were identified for technology. So this comes from a NASSCOM study. Again, this is 2017 data. Therefore, things have evolved. But obviously, the technologies which we have been developing and we have invested in is really coming out. So augmented reality to smart cards, I think this has become a big revolution in India. And multiple things, be it cashless, smart cities, data-driven solutions. All this has happened, and of course, beyond this, it is also happening today. Today, we are seeing, and we will see the born EV, the born electric vehicle, not a converted electric vehicle that an internal combustion engine is removed and from a framework of an existing design to make a new electric motor and a battery. We are having now the development of the generation of vehicles which are purely electric vehicles. And of course, the famous autonomous vehicles, the unmanned taxis or the unmanned vehicles. This is something which is of a very good, very interesting development across the world. I will put here more topics which are actually happened or which are continuing to happen. I said already, agri-tech, healthcare technologies, the convergence of artificial intelligence and human, it is evolving. And of course, smart robotization is happening. We have a lot of focus on sustainable solutions, sustainability in terms of industry, households, energy, and a very emerging philosophy is called the circular economy, which is, I think, something which is very, very key for the future in terms of our climate and environment and resource management. So this is the the visibility of the mega trends in the technology which has been invested in, which has been developing in India. I will bring up something which is actually a very new information also for me. I have recently come across this. So this is basically an assignment, a to-do for you, because even I am learning from this. So I would also request you to actually make note of this. This is basically a very interesting study, interesting paper. The title is in the bottom, this mega trends for 2021-2030. This is a document, a paper which is published a few months ago under the IEEE's digital reality initiative. I would really request you to have a look at this. Google this, you will find it, and you can have a look at this PDF document. It's quite mind-blowing, okay, and it is something which is actually trying to predict. Sorry. Yeah. So this gentleman have listed around 20 points of mega trends. Okay, and there are, what is written here is not something which is very much easy and self-explanatory. You have to read it detail. Global abundance, basically this is about the abundance of resources and availability of those things. So there are many topics which are coming. The global gigabit connectivity, we are talking about 5G revolution, which is going to make gigabit information exchanges very fast. Increased lifespan, we are all of course seeing our lifespans. Our next generation will have much more longer lifespans. Okay, capital abundance, so there is cash flow, there is capital being generated. Augmented reality and the spatial web. Artificial intelligence on par with human intelligence. So you will see this happening, the coming age of human AI and human collaboration. A software cocoon. There are so many interesting concepts which are thrown up by this gentleman in this paper. Autonomous vehicles and flying cars, he didn't miss it. Internet, instant economy of things is also a very interesting concept. So one thing which is very clear, which has happened and which is also a thought-provoking thing, is the impact of COVID which has happened. So this is a life-changing, this is a earth-shaking event which has happened. Nobody could have foreseen how it has happened. Even there are people who say they predicted it, but nevertheless, nobody knows how it's developing, how it's going. But we can be positive that we are going to come out of it soon. This has created uncertainty and fear in the people, and we have changed our life. I think I know as students, as faculty, you have gone through one of the most tumultuous times. People have gone on work from home for years, for almost 1.5 years, and that is the fact, because it's for the safety of the people that as much as possible, everybody who can must work from home. And I know you have been also studying, doing your classes from in a remote way. So this has been the reality of 2020 and continuing 2021. There is one more nugget which comes, which is a revolution which is coming from our understanding, that a skill of the life cycle, a life, life of a skill, the half-life of a skill has dropped. And I was following very avidly in the earlier discussion, I forgot the technology name. I think he mentioned JAR or something. So that technology is no longer, in vogue. I'm sure nobody will buy a Nokia N series phone in this decade. The half-life of the technology or a skill has, shrunk rapidly. What used to be 30 years is now like an average of 6 years. I don't know whether it is even going to be 6 years in the future. It may be 3 years in the future. The life cycle of a good, a machinery, which used to be 60, 70 years of a machinery's life, is probably now 30 years. Okay. And for an automotive, life cycle was again 30 to 40 years, is now reducing to 15 officially. In practically, it may be even lesser than 15 years. The life of your mobile phone, I think it is not more than 2 years. If you do not throw it away, I'm sure you will be forced to buy, forced to upgrade, because it is no longer cool to have a technology, a mobile phone. A Nokia 6610 is no longer cool. Okay, so this is what is happening today, and therefore the message which I want to say here is that, as you are learning, as you are growing, you have to learn, you have to keep learning. Okay, so what we were starting in kindergarten, what we thought would be the technology we need to learn as an engineer or as a doctor or whatever, is not going to exist when we grow up and become a graduate. Okay, and I think 20 years after I graduated, 25 years after I graduated, I can definitely vouch for this. What I learned at that day is no longer today's discussion point. Okay. And an exemplification of the last couple of points is how we have been evolving. And this is a very interesting, visualization which is coming from one of the papers. Again, it comes from this thing. It shows that we have been moving from mechanical devices, which is switched on, switched off, etc., to now we are getting products which are actually, rather not as a product owned, but a service we get. Okay. Even today, I think some of you may be recognizing what a revolution which is happening in the field of automotive or transportation is the revolution of people not wanting to own cars, but rather hire cars, or hire the service of cars for a transportation purpose. So the development of an Ola or a Uber is coming from that. People, especially the generation, the millennials, the digital natives of today, are so conversant with calling a cab on their mobile phone and taking it, rather than driving the car with the steering wheel in their hand. This is the reality. And okay, we further move towards power, which is at the service. Like you can lease, I mean, you can actually install solar on lease basis. You can actually basically you need to get the power. That's all. And of course, comes to 3D printing, because you can actually get your product at the press of a button when you want it. So hopefully this will happen in the future, and these are developing. The list of is continuing actually, and there is much more interesting things in the list. Something which is written here quite abstract, but this is about this is something like an IoT and the extension of AI and human human association with AI. Media is rapidly changing, so advertising and all these media related interfaces are changing. Cellular agriculture, which is basically about it is as we know, food is going to be one of the major problems in the future. The technology will also evolve to make us grow our own food, like the artificial meat, but of course very safe and authentic. This is what is expected to come. And other things like brain computer interfaces, CRISPR. I think I do not remember the acronym, but this is one of the most profound technologies which is happening, and this was the Nobel Prize of 2020. The people who discovered and who harnessed this CRISPR gene therapy to splice to us genetic engineering. This is one of the technologies which is emerging. And of course, where the linguistics is coming of age, healthcare and cyberspace, and future of work. Some pictures I've picked out for you. This is like a collage, and I don't think you can read this, but just to tell you, this is a picture of a digital twin of a city. In 2019, Singapore created a digital twin of their city, and the intention for that was used by of use to the city planners, that whenever we are developing, when the city people are developing something, or a new big industrial setup is coming, or they are building some infrastructure, they look at this digital twin to see how does it actually fit in the scheme of things, and is there going to be any potential conflicts. So this is a reality. On tech, healthcare technology, we have three pillars: digital healthcare, the precision healthcare, which is about diagnostics and genetics and big data. And this map of all these things is like a cables getting connected to each other, literally like a switchboard. This is showing how interconnected these technologies are with each other, and this is one of the future innovations which is coming up. I present this. This is a kind of a schematic of a circular economic representation. It is the mainstream, which is a manufacturing cycle, but it is also about the recycling part, and it's also about the sustainability and the renewables. Okay, so this is again something which whatever technologies we use, which we develop, has to fit in the scheme of things, fit and take regard of Mother Nature. And this is how it all is. We are trying to fit it in. And obviously, the evolution of artificial intelligence by association with humans, so the H and the AI is also evolving. So the human, the empathy part of it is also something which computers are trying to recognize or to mimic. So I strongly recommend that you can Google this, Roberto Saraco, and see this thing. I do not know if all of these things will become reality, but definitely some of these are already becoming reality, already evolving today. And for those who are interested in each of your field, be it mechanical or electrical, electronics, be it production or civil and architecture, you will find something going on here. And that is one thing which is really one of the the most profound thing which I say about Industry 4.0. It is not like 20 years ago where you had the streams of mechanical engineering where a mechanical engineer himself would be able to do the job, or it's like an electrical and electronics where he or she himself or herself were doing something. Today is a fusion. Today it is not even, it is gone beyond mechanical to electrical, it is gone beyond mechatronics. It's now become a fusion. It is a system of mechanical come electrical electronic come even computation. So it's a huge system of this, and each of the fields have a very strong role to play. Even medical technology, medical field, doctors have a role to play. And in this massive fusion of Industry 4.0, I think we are converging to a great future. This is, I think, the last slide. I want to bring a little bit of a picture from the past. I came across this, somebody forwarded me in WhatsApp saying that actually in one of the comics, Archie comics, I don't know if some of you have read this in those days when I was a student or I was a youngster, I was seeing these kind of comics, and it seems that they were predicting in 2021 how our school would be. And apparently Betty was going to homeschooling with this kind of device. It was still a very old Apple Macintosh, but she was doing a work from home there. So there was also something interesting. I found that the concept of a phone which could be in the hand, a handy phone a friend kind of thing, was one of the scientific concepts in 1956 presented in some magazines. I found a lot of such things in those early days. Probably it was inspired by the science fiction of Isaac Asimov, etc., which was really very popular during that generation. And there is something here like this, a flying car of the future. This was also featured in a magazine. These two ladies flying their saucer and landing in their home. But I think we beat them to beat everybody to this, because our technology probably is dating back, centuries and millennia old. So I guess in as per our mythology, even they were probably doing a Zoom call in those days. And I am sharing a picture here which I found in this movie Maya Bazaar, which is a 1957 movie where it was, of course, our Nadigai Savitri and our NTR, which were acting in this. And they have a laptop computer in which they are able to converse with somebody. And of course, it was a nice duet song of Savitri as well. So, we probably beat everybody to the technology by conceptualizing it in, 2000 years ago and picturizing it in 1957. Okay. Some of these technologies have actually happened today. So I can tick off these things. Yes, you have these things. Okay, there is work in progress for this flying saucers. So I would really appreciate if some of you young gents and ladies can quickly bring this to reality. We can definitely use this technology for now. So the last piece I would like to say is, all these were dreams. I think in 97 or 57, these were all very, very funny, hilarious things. Maybe it was like a wish list. But I think whoever conceived it and many other millions of scientists have conceived so many things. So it's definitely something to dream big and make it happen. And the first step is to imagine what could be. that's the tailpiece, and I would conclude my session with this. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I have some questions.
All right.
Shall I ask?
Yes, please. I hope it was clear all through the session. I think, was it lucid enough?
Yes, sir. Fine,
Okay,
sir.
please. Sure.
So you are talking about mobility, sir.
Mobility. Yeah.
So nowadays, everything is automated towards the internet. How far it is safe for privacy theft?
Yeah. So I think one of the key pillar of this industry tech revolution and information age is cybersecurity. And today there are, with every technology which is coming, of course, there are also risks, and there is, there are always contingencies, things which can go wrong. But we are seeing an evolution in that field also. Cybersecurity is a very, very fast growing and very, very strong discipline. Okay. Cybersecurity in terms of securing data or securing the transactions. And in mobility, today you have public mobility like these metro trains or mass transportation systems which are using technology, and they are very safe, they are protected. You cannot hack into such systems because the systems are very strongly protected, and so it is quite safe, and it is going on to be more and more safe. The other part is information which is there in the domain, the public domain. Of course, once you put in an information, you are signing on to any of the websites. When you put in some information there, which is there is a a sign-on clause, there is a data being captured by the cookies, which is predominantly also safe. But yes, we know that these kind of hackings or ransomware attacks keep happening. So again, industry is trying to upgrade. Today, in our mobile financial transactions, we have again very, very safe mechanisms. You have two-factor authorizations. So it is very difficult for people to cheat and swindle money through a transaction. Okay, but of course there are also the same the so-called call centers which will call you and ask you to share your password. So as long as we do not share the password, it is okay. But it is definitely it is safe, and the society, the government is increasingly getting aware and trying to bring in safeguards into this as it grows. That's the answer.
And radiations through machine and internet is affecting physically as well as biological environment, sir. So how to control it?
Okay, so now this is a little bit off this chapter of this subject, but it's a controversial thing. Okay, but I think I have also researched this. If you look at the website, okay, in Google or YouTube, you can look for it, because one of the great theories were that 5G is going to kill the brain, and it is these millimeter waves. Actually, these are millimeter waves are going to be very disruptive for humans. But I think it is not scientifically proven. In fact, there is more evidence to say it doesn't really happen that way. But nevertheless, with so much wireless, so much information going across, it can definitely be a matter of concern. So it's a subject of research, and it's a subject to monitor and see reality. I'm not the expert to comment on this. I think you should check and you should make your form your understanding from this. But please don't listen to WhatsApp forwards telling you that the mobile tower next to your house is dangerous and knock it down. Okay, there are people who listen to that, and actually in Canada or someplace they actually broke down some towers saying these are 5G towers, is going to kill the sparrows in the population, etc. Don't listen to those. Do your research, listen to experts, and decide whether it is which way to go.
Is blockchain technology is really a trustable one in case of Bitcoin transactions?
Yes. So blockchain again, so Bitcoin transactions itself today, it is not legalized in India. it is legal, or it is it is kind of on a gray zone in many countries. In few countries it is legal as well. So these non-fungible tokens, I think it is definitely, I don't see any chance that it will continue to stay like where it is staying today. It will become sooner or later it will become part of economy, okay, a legitimate part of economy. And Bitcoin technology itself, or sorry, not Bitcoin, blockchain technology itself has so much fundamental usage, and it is meant to make transactions and make data trustable. So it is definitely a technology to develop. It is definitely happening, be it your digital records, etc., or be it financial records. With the blockchain technology, it is something which is going to make your electronic transactions, make your digital data much more trustable and much more, better to transact. So I think blockchain is definitely a very strong and good technology, and Bitcoin will come with it, which is of course the future.
So you spoke about digital twin. So can you explain it?
So, okay, digital twin. Okay, it is like a digital. It's a visual, virtual replica of, or a virtual model of something. If you are today a conventional designer, an AutoCAD designer or a Pro E designer, he's creating a model in a 3D CAD or something like that, And in a digital twin, it goes beyond that. It actually creates a working prototype, or rather a working model of whatever you want to create. So I was mentioning the digital twin of Singapore city. Okay, just imagine how complex it could be. Okay, and this picture which I shared was showing so many things which are there on this. So it can be as complex as that, or a digital twin can be a digital identity of a person with characteristics, with the things which is actually also being developed, or it can be a system, a machine, or a process which can be digitally twinned for somebody to understand by simulating it, whether what happens if this input is given, what happens in this transaction, or how can we do a durability test of a system, does it work by design. So that is the kind of that is the concept of digital twin. Yeah.
A student from electronic background is asking a question. Is there any free IoT platform to practice?
No, I don't have the answer to this question, but I think there are platforms. There are, if I understood or I remember, there are places where you can connect and test it, but I'm not very familiar with that. I was working with somebody who's developing a platform, and of course their products, sensors connect to their edge computer, edge devices, and read it. But I think there are tools which are available, and I'm not a techie in that genre, but if you look at Microsoft, which is developing this Microsoft Azure platform, so there are ways to connect on this. Okay. Now, beyond this, I can't explain it better. I think if somebody who is more technically knowledgeable should be consulted. Sorry about that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Babu Ramachandran, sir, for the interesting session, and the presentation is more informative to our students. You begin the session with the Industrial Revolution and then Industry 4.0 technology, and you said mega trends of 2021 and 2030, how the future will be of a lot of things which you shared is most beneficial to our students. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us, sir. And in this occasion, a special thanks to Dr. K. Mahalakshmi ma'am, Dean KIT CIII, for organizing this webinar. I wish to express my gratitude to our management, principal, vice principal, deans and HODs of various departments, faculty friends, Infonest team for supporting us. Thank you, students. We'll meet you all in another webinar session. Thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.